Sorry, that's what I wanted to say, that if we got cut off, you can just rejoin the same link.
It went okay. We're here together again. But let's not fight each other. I'm not. You know, if you say something exploded, then that's and also with New York, you're very right on that. Something is that plane, the second plane is very clear that something is launched from that plane.
And the first plane, Ray.
And the first plane, but my theory is that it was 3 times, 4 times. 4 planes launched things. 4 planes were used in the same fashion. 1 team, 4 planes. We have some planes. That's the thing. We have some planes. And then we have the last voice of the person saying we have a bomb on board. A bomb on board. Was that investigated by 9/11 Commission? No, it was not. There's no report on any investigation done about that bomb. The footnote on that that the commission said there was no bomb on board was based on an article in a news publication about an FBI saying that they thought there was no bomb on board, but there was no basis.
On board what? On board what?
Flight 93.
That who says Flight 93 hit anything?
He's talking about a bomb on board.
Right.
Yes.
There
was a recording.
You're talking about somebody saying there's a bomb on board.
Yes.
Right.
There was a voice, a male voice again, saying we have a bomb on board. It was a different voice than the first voice. And it's not, there's no report that has investigated if there was a bomb or there was no bomb on board. And that's where I find Shanksville is so fascinating, that if you imagine a bomb and a plane and the destruction that it causes, these 2 things, then you kind of get 9/11. And it's 9/11 is very chemical. It's a chemical thing. It's an explosive thing.
Not just chemical, Ray. Not just chemical.
Yeah, but you okay. Let's say explosives. Let's say explosives. How do you explain explosives? Because nanothermite is not an explosive. It's not.
But nanothermite, from what I've learned, can be modified to a degree that it becomes explosive.
No. It becomes more rapid. It becomes more rapid in its burning, but it will never become.
Then we must agree to disagree on this one, because I've done research and I've heard from certain sources that nanothermite can be configured so that it becomes an explosive, technically, so that its gases expand at an explosive rate.
No,
we disagree. We must move on.
No.
Yes. We move on.
It can be used in certain explosives. It's an ingredient of.
How do you know about this, Ray? Are you a member of the Lawrence Livermore Laboratories, that you know about their experiments and what they've done? That's all top secret stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Nanothermite and use in it's called enhanced blast explosives and enhanced blast explosives. Enhanced blast explosives is where they use nanothermite in the explosion, and that's the type of non-nuclear powerful explosions. You get to that scale. You get to thermobaric explosions with the fuel air explosions. These types of weapons use nanothermite.
See,
it's
our call tonight is about 9/11 synthesis, not about your theories.
no, it's not about my theories.
Yes, it is. It's become about.
No. No, I'm just giving you the gist of what nanothermite is, and you have a different opinion of what nanothermite is, and that's the thing that that was found. You agree on that, but how was it used? How was it incorporated in your theory? How
All
is nanothermite part of your theory, Lawrence?
Okay, would you like to hear? Okay, now we want to mute Ray for a while just so I can talk without being interrupted. Where's that mute button?
You're the host.
Yep. Okay. I'm going for the screen share. Maybe I can change it once we get the screen share. So we're talking about nanothermite and how it was used. So I have to go to, all right. There's a good possibility that nanothermite was used to sever the core columns, from what I understand, about every third floor. Oh, darn it. Okay. So that when the core dropped, it would, a combination of be able to be blown out, and if it wasn't able to be blown out, that it would be able to be dropped fairly straight, like that one, that what people have called the spire, which eventually did, topple and break up. But yeah, nanothermite, in my opinion, would have been used to sever the core columns every third floor, approximately 2 to 4 floors, whatever, so that they were cut. They were literally cut into lengths that could be loaded onto trucks and carted away. And this one here, it's unlikely that they used any cutting charges where the floor and the core and the perimeter columns were connected, because they wanted the core that was falling to stress these joints, all these joints here, so that when the explosive, that yellow explosion started, it would allow not just the core to be blown out, but the perimeter columns. If they hadn't done that, the likelihood, in my opinion, would have been that the glass would have blown out of the buildings and it would have remained standing. Okay, I'm going to stop share. I'm going to stop share now and open up the. Where's that?
Oh dear, I'm bobbleheading again.
Yeah.
Stop video.
Mute, stop video chat. Okay, I muted you, but I can't unmute you for some reason, Ray. So you're gonna have to.
I'm muted.
Okay.
But you say cutter charges, and but then you talk about the thing that you have to have a solid factual thing that it was used there, and well, it's for me. You cannot see what happens inside the building. It's like not seeing inside the cockpit. It's we cannot see inside the building what's happening there. So that's and there's also for me that it's very hard to know what is going on in the building if I cannot see it. So I can say it was every 3 floor, but it could be 2 floor. It could be everything. It could be everything.
You could measure the column sections that they carted away and measure. It's measurable.
Yeah, but then you say there is something that slices it like a knife.
No, like a shaped thermite charge.
Yeah, but shaped charge is not thermite charge.
Thermite can be put into shaped charges.
Yeah, but it's not going to have the energy of a cutter charge.
That's exactly what counter charge is, Ray, is
A cutter charge, but a cutter charge is not. There is no thermite cutter charge. If you can, if
how
you
do you
can.
know that? How do you, that's hearsay.
No, I've done my fair share in research about nanothermite and how it's used, how it's utilized in certain propellants and explosives, and I know that it becomes powerful in an explosive. In itself, it will not blast through like a cutter. A cutter charge is a blast. It's a detonation.
Counter charge, a shaped charge, is a compound put into a combination of ceramic and steel that is strapped to the side of what you want to cut it and is ignited. So all that energy goes towards what you want to cut. That's
In a millisecond.
not in a millisecond. Sometimes it takes a while for that stuff to burn. In more than a millisecond.
A cutter charge that what they use to demolish steel structures. That it's a millisecond. It's
more than a millisecond.
Yeah, but there's this romantic idea. I think Jonathan Cole was doing his test in with thermite in his backyard, and he was the only one I saw that made a cutter charge with pure thermite.
What is
and it took a lot.
Pure thermite, man. There's no such.
No, what I'm saying.
Thermite. There are different forms of thermite.
He had the original thermite, and not the nanothermite. He was using thermite.
And each one has a different chemical composition by a little bit. So they're not.
Exactly. But what he was doing in his backyard, where I'm getting at, is it takes time.
That's not a millisecond.
No, that's a difference. There's a difference in the release of energy over amount of time, and that's when it gets to detonations, it's very, very short time. A lot of energy is released. We can agree on that.
In an explosive detonation, yes.
Yes. Okay, but that gives also a particular sound, and it even gives waves in the ground. You know, if there's a detonation, you can have seismic waves. It's traceable.
Depending on where the detonation is. If it's an air detonation, you're gonna, unless it's a really powerful air blast, and you won't get your trampoline or your surface waves.
Yeah, but they had this massive one in the silo in Lebanon, and it gave a lot of seismic waves. But that's also fascinating.
That was a surface burst.
Yes, but that
was possibly slightly beneath the surrounding surface.
But it gave seismic waves that were picked up, and
that was a massive surface burst.
Yes,
and that type of waves that set off would have been the surface wave, where you're setting the surface like a trampoline.
Yes, and then
different kind of waves. Like if you hit the wall. It's going to be a totally different. The P waves or shear waves are totally different than the surface waves. You get a peak, like a 2.1 and a 2.3 on the scale, on the Richter scale.
Yeah. Okay, but that's
a spike.
No, but I think that's also fascinating. What you're focusing on the seismic waves of New York.
And Richard Gage did a stellar job of.
Okay. Hearsay. Now, get back to the waves.
No. This is my show. You shut up.
Oh no! Stop that. Now, kids.
But the waves are very interesting because we were told there were two waves. One was the plane impact, and the second one was the tower coming down.
We were told, hearsay, go for it.
We were told. But there are two waves. You agree that these were registered. These are facts.
We have recorded evidence that there were major seismic events, and they're very, very definitive in the type of, including the depth, those peaks, those spikes, the 2.1, the 2.3, that they had to go to the scale and increase it to or in order to get it on the scale, they had to go, say this is 100, this is 100 times, this is 10 times, and each one just prior to the collapse of each of the cores of each of the towers, there were massive seismic signals generated.
Yeah,
and they indicated that those were subterranean and very powerful because of that spike, that 100 times spike, that went up to the 2.1 and the 2.3, and that was an impulse. That was an impulse, like somebody banging on the wall, not somebody jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah, but the first one said it was a plane impact, and then
they say.
And then the second wave was also a plane impact.
That's what they said.
Okay, but these two waves, what we have, you say they were, that's what they said, but can a plane that hits a wall generate this wave?
If
because I think,
you want an answer, can keep quiet and wait for the answer.
No.
Yeah. Can
ahead.
a plane generate, can the impact of a plane against a wall, if that wall is coupled deeply into the earth and rigid, like a piece of tungsten carbide, like a block of tungsten carbide, 110 stories tall, and rooted into the substrate, 110 stories, then the impact of a plane may have a little bit, but the plane is not massive enough to generate that kind of energy.
And that's also very curious, because that was also never investigated, how much energy was necessary to generate these first two waves.
Well, it's very clear how much energy was generated because of the amount of seismic, the seismic records.
Yeah, but it was never translated into how much energy caused these seismic waves to exist.
Or where that energy was located.
Okay, but the first instance is how much energy was necessary to make these waves, and we were told it was the plane impacting the building.
A plane impacting the building.
But that's the thing, that more energy was at play at that moment, and that's what
I'm getting. At the moment, seconds before that moment, Ray.
Yeah, but
12 to 15 seconds before. Listen, 12 to 15 seconds before the moment that the plane struck, those seismic waves were generated.
If you want to think that
I don't think it. That's what the record says.
No, it's what Gage makes of the records, and Gage is not even the originator of this thought.
No, he isn't. But he did a good job in presenting it.
Yeah, but it's I listen to 9/11 and I see this plane coming, and then I hear this massive explosion, and I think, wow.
That's
it's a video of 9/11. I'm not going to argue with the video of 9/11. It was registered that there was an explosion.
You say that's your hearsay. You say there was an explosion.
No, I listened to the video.
You listened to the video and you surmise there was an explosion.
Till I post the video, you can listen to it.
I've seen it. You've shared it many times. That's not what we're here to do tonight. We're not going to talk about your explosions.
Time out. I don't know what you guys are arguing about.
We're talking about.
It sounds like you're on the same page, and then you argue with each other.
No, I'm trying to always stay on the same page, but it's like your work is so much more than where you're now focused on, and it's for me it's very hard to make you look at it in some broader sense, like
Ray, you have made me look at it, and I do not subscribe to your opinions.
no, but I agree with your opinions, and that's
Some of
fascinating.
them, some of them. And
No,
I
no,
agree with-
I
and I
think-
agree
I
with
think-
some of yours.
I think the missile at the Pentagon is a very crucial aspect. And the missile at the North and the South Tower is a very crucial aspect.
We don't know where
And it's like you're burying your own work in the ground. And for me it's very difficult I'm complimenting on what you see, and I'm complimenting on what you realized when you were, because it were the same things I realized, that these two planes hitting these two towers is not what we were told. These planes were launching missiles at these towers when they crashed. What did this missile cause in this tower? What damage did this missile do at that moment the plane crashed? And that's where I think it all comes together. It's
That's
these.
a very good point. What damage would a missile do on a 110-story tower?
What was
Would
the
it
purpose?
cause the collapse that we saw?
What was the
Would
purpose?
there have been another device?
This is when the plane struck. The collapse didn't happen for another 3 or 4 hours.
50
No,
minutes.
well, quicker than that for 1 and 2.
About 2 hours, maybe. What was it, an hour and a half to 2 hours?
No, half an hour.
50 minutes, hour and a half.
That
Yeah.
makes it even crazy. That makes it even crazier.
Yeah, it makes it
Yeah,
crazier.
so the missile would not have brought down the towers.
No.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
We're
It's
not
what I'm
talking
saying.
about the destruction of the towers. We're talking about this moment.
Yeah, the moment of the plane, because when you launch a missile into a building, there's an explosion. If the
Wait a
missile
minute.
has a
That's hearsay. When you launch a missile, first of all, what is the purpose of that missile? Is it an explosive missile or is it an incendiary missile?
now what was it?
It was an incendiary missile.
An incendiary, but the Pentagon was an explosive, you said.
The Pentagon was an explosive missile.
Okay, but if you have an incendiary and you have jet fuel, what happens?
You get a conflagration, a rapid conflagration.
And you got it's a air fuel explosion. Air fuel is it? Air fuel makes.
Air fuel rapid conflagration.
Yeah, my conflagration is if you have two elements working together, and you say the one is an explosive and the other one is what hits the tower. You say was both of these missiles had the same.
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Okay, the first plane. What is it? What missile is it carrying?
The first plane that struck the first tower?
Yeah, what missile is it shooting?
Either a missile or a projectile, most likely a missile because of what we see going through the towers as what appears to be white phosphorus incendiary exhaust, a white smoke exhaust trail. And the glowing heads. I'd be glad to run through the videos. I have a whole compilation.
No, but
Wait a minute. I have evidence.
We know. But
Then what's all the talk about if we know?
both I'm listening to you. Both had incendiary missiles. Flight 11 and Flight 1.
Those were not Flight 11 and Flight whatever.
Okay, whatever. These two planes had missiles shoot out of them, and they contained incendiary, you say.
Yeah.
And if you have incendiary in a jet fuel mixture.
Yeah.
That's the basis. That's the basis of a thermobaric weapon.
That's the basis of creating a Hollywood-style fireball that would just burn the memory of the day into your mind forever.
Not only that, it causes a lot of blast pressure.
There would have been a fair amount of pressure if it was a rapid conflagration.
And what do we hear?
I hear a plane striking the tower.
So why use the missile?
To make sure that the fuel ignites.
But usually fuel ignites, but
No,
it
it
has to.
It doesn't usually ignite. It needs at least 400 and some odd degrees in order to ignite.
Mhm.
And it's usually in contact with the ground when friction is built up between the aircraft, parts of the aircraft and the ground, and the fuel comes in contact with this heat source. You cannot, it takes quite a bit to light a kerosene heater. You know, you can do it, but it's not explosive. It's a very, very, you know.
But if you use an incendiary,
And the fuel is atomized or broken. If your fuel tanks have just, okay, you send out the rocket just before the plane strikes, so you have this white phosphorus particles all over the place, broken particles, and you see the trail of a white phosphorus rocket passing through, and you see a very, very what appears to be a solid fuel rocket exhaust. And there are all these bright glowing particles with white smoke trails behind them passing through the Pentagon and out through the side and settling down around the Pentagon. You know, just as this plane is ready to rupture its fuel tanks on impact. So now you have fuel that's not atomized, but you have fuel that is now dispersed broadly into this waiting fire, and the fire, you know, what you hear might have been partially the expansion of this fuel, but the as far as an explosive being included on those aircraft, I highly doubt that. You know why? I mean, and it wouldn't. There was no sign of any. It was a fireball. It was a conflagration. I didn't see anything that appeared to blast away from the center as explosive, like what we saw at the Pentagon, did not occur at the World Trade Towers.
It blasted out of all the sides. You can see the windows are broken after this.
That's mostly mechanical. That's mostly mechanical.
But it caused by pressure.
And pressure.
But it not you mean but
the parts of the aircraft, the stuff that made it through, is going to break away the stuff that's outside of it. The second,
but if it goes back,
can you let me finish for a second?
No, I'm curious.
The plane, you know, strikes the tower. There are mechanical parts on the plane that are going to do damage to the tower and displace things, like anything that gets in the way of the engines, and the landing gear is going to be, you know, those are pretty, you know, that's like rock, paper, scissors. Landing gear trumps perimeter columns. Engines trump perimeter columns when it comes to, you know, trajectory, velocity, kinetic energy. You saw a lot of destruction that was caused by mechanical components of the aircraft as they at high velocity struck the components of the towers, including probably some damage to the core.
Okay, the kinetic energy of the plane hitting the structure caused the damage, and also the explosion.
Components of the plane.
Yeah. Components of the plane, not the whole plane. But it's the dust coming out of the entry hole. How do you explain that one?
What are you talking about?
The plane goes in.
Okay,
the tower.
We're going to end this session in 10 minutes. So,
but the plane goes into the tower, and then
the plane didn't get into the tower. Parts of the plane got into the tower.
Oh, okay. Parts of the plane entered the tower, but what is coming out of the tower through that same hole after this crash? What is the there's a pulse direction
Well, there would have been the massive components on the plane that had enough kinetic energy and enough um, uh, cohesiveness. Like engines don't just, crumble when they hit something. They're massive titanium and aluminum and magnesium. Just, they're going to do a fair amount of mechanical damage. The
Yeah,
landing, the landing gear are going to do mechanical damage. Um,
but the dust clouds, how do you explain all the dust which is coming out of the tower?
maybe they
Oh,
didn't maybe they didn't vacuum the day before.
Oh,
wow.
come on, don't be silly.
He keeps it light. He keeps it light. I like it. But for me, these things are really the thinking about these things which you can see with your own eyes and looking at what you can, because the explosion, it's also fascinating.
What
It also-
explosion?
The NIST report talks about the plane crashes, and then they talk about the fuel load, and then they talk about the fireball, and that it took so much seconds to burn up, and then it rises into the sky. But
And
the fascinating,
what about all that white smoke that was going down when the black smoke was going up?
but you have a fireball, and it burns in a second.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that one.
And
Another thing to think about is the planning that went into this. Now, I presume that they were military aircraft, 757s, and imagine outfitting an aircraft as a missile, most likely that had an autonomous onboard target-seeking guidance system. And how do you control a plane if it's got a heavy fuel load on it? It's not going to be very responsive. So again, I'll presume that the fuel load was just enough to get the plane from where it was launched, maybe at Stewart, and this is another conversation, Stewart Air Force Base, to the target with enough reserve to have that 5-second fireball. You don't want too much fuel. You don't want too little. You want to get to the target, but if you have too much fuel, then it's going to weigh the plane down, and it's going to cause the plane to not, its flight controls aren't going to be, the plane will not respond as well to the flight controls if it has a heavy fuel load, especially in the wings when you're going into bank, because you have to now move all of that fuel in the wings, but with the ailerons or the spoilers, in order to get it to bank. You're trying to, if you have a plane that has no fuel in the wings, then you have something that can almost flap its wings.
But if you have no fuel, you have no fireball.
If you have no fuel in the wings, but it has a wing root tank. Remember that. And
Okay. Yeah. But it's a way of thinking about it.
it's another way. We have
But
what is it? 6 minutes.
okay. I think we have to really be friends.
Ray, we don't have to be friends.
No, we have to be friends. Really, Lawrence. We'll be too long at it.
Turn it together.
Yeah. And it's good to meet person to person after writing words on the internet for so long. It's good to see each other in the eye.
Yeah, you were never that great an adversary back then. You had some good questions back then, but in the 9/11 Truth movement, I was chastised, I was vilified, I was, I don't trust anybody that says that they're a 9/11 truther anymore to any degree, because I don't believe that 99% of these people are telling the truth or have a clue about what they're talking about, really.
Yeah, and I agree in some sense with you, and even people who I do not agree with have certain small kernels of truth that I take, that I think, okay, there's not one I really I learn from everybody. And I really am trying to be open with everybody. And I think 9/11 without explosives would be totally different. And that's the thing, what I'm focused on is explosives, because 9/11 without explosives, we would have been 4 normal plane crashes. But
Nor-
there was so much more. There was so much more. But 9/11 without explosives, and that's why I focus on explosives, and that's what I think. You know, what I learned also from you is you had the same vision as I saw. I saw this white smoke trail at the Pentagon, and I said, that's aluminum oxide. That's the propellant, solid propellant. It was such an eye opener, because you were one of the few who really hung on to that one, and I respect you for that, because it's a very
That got me kicked out of the 9/11 truce
hard
movement.
place to be.
3 times. That got me kicked out of the Ken Docks 9/11 truce movement.
Yeah,
3
yeah,
times.
yeah. I was kicked out too. So we can.
And I had to go see a psychiatrist because I was taking
Oh,
it
geez.
seriously.
Yeah,
I got kicked out of the 9/11 truce movement for telling the truth.
yeah. But it's strange that it was so rejected, and I think this whole thing about you know, there's so much disinformation put into the movement to fragment it, to play it apart, to you know, the no planes in New York. I think is a fragmentation of deception, not looking at explosions.
And it's been done since before 9/11 even happened, that they
Yes.
planned on the controlled opposition. They had scripts already. They had people already to fill positions in the 9/11 truce movement, in a position of controlled opposition, or a position of what would be called limited hangout, where you tell the truth about something that's pretty obvious, but then you deny something else that is also pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And much more damning than the truth that you allow to be revealed.
Yeah, but I hope that really that we get more information about 9/11 with FOIA, and that we can really take that into account, because there's so much not known, and that's the thing. We have to really you dig deeper, but
I dig deep. I'm the only one who digs deep.
I know. That's I know. But
Everybody else is looking up. I'm looking down.
I dare you to look into Shanksville with for a month or two.
I've looked at it, and what I see is a couple of what appear to be gashes, and I don't know what created them, but I also see something that appears to be something that was blown away from the center that actually fills those gashes. So the gashes happen first, and then the explosion happens second.
Very, very good. Yeah, I agree with you.
So
The gashes were before the crater.
yeah,
and that's also fascinating.
it is. I mean, that
Very fascinating, because but you know, how much time was there? Was it a millisecond?
what was it? Was it an object that created those gashes?
Yes, I think so.
Was it something traveling in or something traveling out? I mean, it's really, I mean, they're almost symmetrical, but they're not impact. They're not wing impact. I mean, there would be wings there if it was wing impact. It wouldn't have embedded itself and gone deep into the substrate.
Not if you exploded.
It would have been, not if you, oh my, oh my.
You have to, it's the fragmentation of 9/11, I call it. It's looking at the fragments and not seeing a plane does not
Connecting
mean
the dots and assembling the fragments.